I'm going to show you exactly how I 8x the profitability of this beverage store. 2 months ago, I took over a bubble tea place called The Alley in Hamilton, Ontario, and this used to be run by the family member. And I took over because the family member wanted to take a little break, and then I figured out there's a lot of things I could do to increase the profitability. So in this video, I'm going to show you exactly how I turned things around in just 60 days. I didn't change the operation completely. I didn't do a crazy marketing. It's all about tweaking small changes for the inventory, for the operation. So make sure you stay until the end because a lot of these changes can be applicable to you as well.
So can you tell me what's been going on with you lately?
Well, two things are happening right now. One is we're kind of tweaking the alley operation. So the bubble tea operation in Hamilton. And that was a fun one because I've never touched consumer product like that before. There has been some transition between the family members, and I'm stepping in here to kind of deal with it, optimize the business a little bit. Very fun project for me before the baby was born. So second thing that's really important is that we're expecting a newborn.
Did the Alley Westdale location approach you for help?
No, it's just like I decided I want to step in and kind of help out the operation.
What are some of the major obstacles there? Or are they dealing with any major obstacles?
The economy slows down a lot, and that's why the foot traffic is not as high as before. So giving people a bit of a kind of understanding what I'm talking about is that during COVID time when there's a lockdown, we're the only one that didn't lock down. Like we just go through all the regulation, we put up the glass and all that stuff. So at the time, there was no competition, and every day we're able to hit 400 to 500 drinks. In some cases, 600. Okay, right now on average, we're dealing with 120 to 100, maybe 40. So there's a big difference. It almost feels like this business is cut down into like 1/3 of the initial revenue or even less than that. Yeah, the sales performance is not as good, and as everybody know that the inflation has been going out of control.
So what is your role with supporting the Alley Hamilton in Westdale?
Basically coming in here to strategize everything. So basically business consultant for this operation. Coming in here, look at the management structure, look at the inventory, look at where things are not optimized and bleeding money. The three things in this business: marketing, sales, and operation. So starting with the operation, I need to look at what's actually bleeding, what's kind of wasteful, how can I optimize it, how can I streamline in a way that I can fully trust on the operation, that I can work on the marketing and sales.
So can you kind of, for those that don't really understand the food industry business or the procedures or processes, can you kind of tell us what are the three major things that you have tried to improve? Let's just focus on operations since you stepped in.
Okay, there are three things that kind of occupy or take up the most of the expenses. Number one is inventory. Number two is payroll. Number three is rent. Okay, there's nothing much we can deal with the rent or utilities and all that stuff. So that's not something that I was looking at. So for the operation, it's really, okay, is there any way that we can control the inventory management a little bit better? That also being said, we're not ordering too much, we're ordering just enough, and also we're not going to allow supplies to go into waste. Definitely looking at that. And the second thing is the payroll. Payroll in food industry is pretty much everything. So if you control that really well with the scheduling, with the pay, with the compensation, we actually have a number. Like I think we were at 36% when we're taking over, and 36% of the entire thing. In order for this store to be profitable, I need to be around like 25 to 27%. So I need to reduce that effectively, which also means that the operation, the standard, everything cannot drop. Those are the three things that I look at. And then obviously when I first started, I look at the inventory first. How can I streamline? How can I optimize it? I look at the procedure of when we dump out the stuff, when we need to, remake the tea, because it's bubble tea place, right? So remake the tea, tapioca, and all that stuff. So there's a bunch of stuff that goes into that to better manage that inventory. But the second thing really is the people.
So for example, you talked about how people and human resources are costing you the most, but how are you trying to keep the cost lower?
Oh, it's very simple. Look at the scheduling every single day for the past 60 to 90 days. And obviously there's a seasonality, especially for barbecue place next to university. So during the summer it's slow. When the summer is over, it will pick up. So the first thing that I look at is like how many people are scheduled for the morning shift and the night shift, and how many people are actually on call. And a lot of people that we're dealing with are students. If the standard and procedure is not in place, sometimes you end up having 3 people doing a slow time, and basically you're bleeding money. If you have 2 people in the morning, sometimes you can also be bleeding money, right? So I had to look at the scheduling and also try to balance what the employee wants. Students, Sometimes they probably want 3 or 4 shifts. Sometimes time gets busy, there's only one. So I have to balance the how many people on rotation versus how many people can actually be scheduled in without people feeling upset. That's the very first balance that we have to figure out. Now, the second thing is that there's a couple people who are also on more like a higher tier pay as a store manager, supervisor. What are they actually doing? Are they bringing up the standard? Are they training people effectively? So that's another one. I want to say one last thing would be every time there's a staff turnover, because turnover in food industry is pretty high, like restaurant industry is very high. So every time that we bring a new person in, if the training is not on point or if the person's not trainable, then we end up bleeding out a lot of money during the training period. And then after 2-3 weeks, they decide to leave, then we have to start this all over again. So I also have to tweak the interviewing process and make sure whoever that's coming in here is qualified.
Okay, so you mentioned about looking at previous data to project basically how many cups will we have selling, and then based on that, then you put in a more standardized procedure to ensure that the number of staff that is working aligns with the projected sales volume.
We started looking at we're making a lot of decisions based on the data. Before, a lot of them was based on the experiencing and the feelings. So for example, if we feel that it's a little bit busier, we want to add another person. We feel like things are slow, so maybe we schedule one person in. We feel like the weather is not gonna be good, we don't make as much tapioca and all that stuff, right? So a lot of things was like based on the feeling, based on the projection of how we believe it's going to turn out. But now it's very simple. It's like, okay, we don't call in another person until we hit, let's say, $2,000 in the daily sales record. Before, when we feel it, I noticed that sometimes we're calling third person in when it's at $1,200 per day, which means that we're going to be losing money by adding that one person in. Those are the stuff that I pay a lot of attention to, because once things are standardized, then you can build a culture around it, because there's a regulation, there's a process that people need to follow. You don't get to make a judgment call. Like, you try to minimize the judgment calls for the entire team as much as possible by implementing those processes.
The second thing that you mentioned is making sure that roles and responsibilities are clear. You talked about there are supervisors in the store, but it is unclear exactly what their roles and responsibilities are. So that creates confusion and it creates waste for financially. And then the third thing you just talked about is ensuring that there are clear criteria so that staff can follow, and again, creating less waste so it's more direct. From all of this, can you give me an example of what you've learned from Alex Hormozi's new book? Either it has been applied to the Ali Westdale business, or you are going to try.
Oh yeah, there's a lot of things I'm learning from this book. And as we speak, it's right here. I'm still reading it, but it's very fun. I noticed that there's a lot of things that we implemented for our property management business and obviously our community as well. But yeah, it's fully applicable to the Ali. So a couple of things. The moment that we're talking about Alex Hormozi's, money model is all about like how we monetize. Let's talk about the marketing and sales, because right now operation, if we can fully trust the operation, we can minimize the spending, and based on the fluctuation of the sales performance, we have guidelines to follow on how many people we need to have. We're basically always going to be profitable, based on the minimum sales performance that we currently have. So now, once I can trust the operation, the next thing I do is look at the marketing, because marketing brings in the sales. So there's a two ways to look at it. Number one is how to increase the foot traffic. That's number one. Number two is the events. So start with number one, foot traffic. We can break things down into two things. One is marketing. There's so many different ways that 100 million money models explains. There's a lot of upsell that you can do. There's a lot of attraction offer that you can do to bring the people in. So one of the examples that we see in Costco is that they give out food samples. Hey, do you want to try this soup, this meat? They give you something completely for free, but in return, you test it, you like it, you might actually buy the entire bag. So those are the stuff that we're probably going to start right away. Putting up a sandwich sign, kind of like an open house sign with our drinks on it, and then we let people know that there's a free sample for them to come in here. So that's probably the very first thing that I would do. And number two is with marketing, it's all about getting people to aware that you're there. It's not even about like selling them anything, just to keep showing up. So very luckily, we run a management company at McMaster University. So we have a lot of data, a lot of students information that we can make them aware. So that's number one. Number two is we're running a group with 40,000 people in there. We can also advertise that on a monthly basis. So just these two will allow people to kind of understand, okay, there's a store or bubble tea place in the alley. Okay, that's not too far away from campus. If we just let them know, create touch points 7 times, 8 times, the likelihood of them buying is going to be much, much higher. So that's the very first thing we do. Number two that we're going to do is that when people come in here, we're also going to incentivize them to let other people know. So it's a referral model. And how we're going to do it is, so when they step into the store for a sample, for example, they try it, they like it, when they offer it, there's going to be a 10% coupon that we're going to to also be handing out if they are willing to make a post and post it on their social media. So Instagram, Snapchat, could be anything else. But basically, the moment that they post it on story, it's a live story that typically 100, 200, 300 people will view it. That will really let the rest of the group, in their circle to know that, oh, this person's at the alley. These are the couple of things that we're currently implementing to get people to do it and have them to advertise the alley for us at this moment.
So what are some of the biggest barriers that you've encountered since starting this consulting role in helping alley maximize their profit and reduce waste?
Biggest challenge, I think it's all about people, to be honest. This is a very labor intensive type of business or operation. So the coordination, change of leadership, change of the management style, people who are used to kind of feeling based type of operation, now there's a clear guideline for them to follow, and sometimes the guideline they may not agree to, because a new guideline typically means just because you get busy doesn't mean the third person get called in. Those are the more like a tougher things that we kind of need to do. Obviously communication is important, but I also don't like to starting off with a very comfortable type of interaction in the very beginning, because especially older staff are used to that already. The moment I get into too close with them, my biggest issue is that I don't want them to be giving me advices or giving me guidelines on how they want things to be done, right? I'm coming here for a change, so it's going to be uncomfortable, and I'm also expecting people to leave, right? So that's probably the biggest challenge. Second challenge that I would say, if I really have to pinpoint one, is that this is the first time I'm dealing with a franchisor, right? So we're a franchisee for this bubble tea place. There's a lot of regulation guidelines that we need to follow from the headquarters, like this type of regulation. So
You are your own regulation.
yeah, I make my own rules and I push certain things, and this is a time where I feel like everything needs to go through approval system, which is fine, but I'm also finding my own balance here.
You mentioned about marketing earlier. What kind of marketing strategy are you thinking to implement, or have you implemented anything?
Yeah, so based on what we just talked about, the uploading the stories on Instagram, Snapchat, those are all pretty interesting, and then I can't wait to start seeing the result. We're just in the preparation to do that, but my estimate is if I can bring in just 30 more people into the store, 30 more people in here with the same operation that doesn't cost me extra money or manpower, 30 times, let's say per drink is $10, right? I'm adding additional $300 in here. Now what's really interesting is and this is the upsell that I really want to talk about, is that every business has an opportunity to upsell. So free sample is an opportunity to upsell. You get people into the door, you let them try the product, and there's a very easy way for them to say, hey, try this out, right? So upselling, I think, is really important for any business to expand their revenue. So a couple of things that we're going to do, and this is also another challenge that we might be facing with the current employees, is that they have never gone through any sales training before. I need to get them to just tweak a couple of things. First of all, when people come in here, you have a big smile and you're cheerful, you're happy. This will make a really good impression. Another thing that they do is that if people buy in, how do you actually get them to do it? By the way, $2 off or 10% off if you post your story, like on your story, right? Happy to do that. And if they can add one more thing, and by the way, have you tried, for example, Royal number 9, the Ryoka or whatever, right? If they just mention it one more time with a big smile, have you tried that? Yes or no? Okay, it's really, really good. Like after they commit to buying the first one, you say, hey, why don't I also get you the second one by 10% off? Let me just throw that in here. You kind of presenting another option. That way, students comes in here or a customer comes in here, they buy one, they will just, okay, let me try it again. It's a very simple yes. Once you get that yes, then we double the revenue. So imagine if I can bring additional 30 people, and out of everybody for the entire day, if I can get even just 20% or 30% of people to buy one more drink, using just additional like sales training, then I'm adding maybe another like 1,000, into the daily revenue. And 1,000 times 30 days, now we're looking at additional 30K in revenue. So these are the stuff that I'm trying to figure out and see if we can do. Maybe we don't hit 30K, but maybe we can still hit like 20K, and that will significantly change the performance of the store.
Are there other marketing strategies that you're thinking of?
Yes. In total, we have 7 or 8 different strategies that we're doing. These are the 2 or 3. I want to try out first before we implementing other things, because these are all just a mini upsell. Let me give you another example that we can potentially do. We can think about what kind of products that we can bundle together, right? So for example, buy 3 or buy 4, get 1 free, right? We can upsell event catering, right? If someone's talking about this and then we see it's a big group, right? Hey, do you guys want to do a catering service? So that's another one.
Wedding.
Wedding is another one. You can give people another car or merch, right? Pre-sell that at that's $100, right? And then every time they bring in here in the future for next year, they get 15% off. You can do that, and if the cost of the drink is like $10, right? So pre-sell additional 10 drinks for them to get that 15% off if they're regular customers, right? So those are the stuff that we can implement and basically just kind of stack up the upfront cash, because once people buy it, they will come in. When they come in here, you can upsell them another drink, or they can come in here with other friends. So those are the little things that we're thinking to really increase the performance of the store. So guys, if you enjoy this content so far, let me know what else you would do to really increase the performance of this store.
So since taking over, you've stepped in to help as a business consultant in the Alley Hamilton bubble tea store. I understand that you've been feeling very satisfied with helping another business scale up. Can you tell me what goes on in your head?
Oh, this is super fun. Business consulting is definitely going to be more of like a new direction. I wouldn't want to say new, but it's just like additional platform that we can definitely build out. So far, this is my 4th one.
So you mentioned that this is very fun for you. Why do you think that is? And have you applied your previous business's strategy or what you've learned into this?
Every business is slightly different, but you won't shift it away from 3 main things, which is marketing, sales, and operation. So once I figure out the operation, then it's just tweaking the marketing to increase the sales. Obviously, there's sales components that goes in there. How do we get a customer to buy more, right? There's a sales training that goes into the entire thing. I like to really understand the business and understand what model actually makes sense for the business.
What have you learned in your previous business that you've brought into this?
Yeah, upsell, making sure that we're not overspending. I used to spend a lot of money on people, right? Especially when it comes to property manager, highly labor intensive. And it's not even the people that I get to see on a regular basis, because they're going out there to manage property, to do landscaping, to do repairs and all that stuff. So that business was really tough. And if you don't manage the manpower well, you can bankrupt your business. And I went through that 3 times as we're scaling. So that was obviously, coming in here, I knew right away that needs to be fixed immediately, because saving it is equivalent to making the profit. And it was a pretty quick way for you to just determine that. And once you finish that, we'll put the emphasis into marketing. So the very first thing I implemented immediately. Now there's also a couple other things that, the process, like in the training, the culture. At the end of the day, when you are dealing with 10, 15 people, you're not talking to every single one of your people every single day. So how do you set out right expectation? Everything's an organization chart. There's 2 things in here. I always learn that the right report should no more than 5 people, right? So if you have 10 people, you need to have another sort of like a manager assistant to kind of help you out so they can delegate some communication off you. I like to kind of keep certain ratio and make sure I understand the organization chart like really well. If it's really wide and you're the only one, this operation is not going to be good. Once you have the work chart, okay, set up, then the next thing that you need to look at is what I call PDCA. So plan, do, check, adjust. Like this is the management style is being implemented in so many different car companies, Japanese company, and this actually really is a very important lesson I learned from many different masterminds. PDCA simply means that if you're the manager, you want to focus on plan, do, check, and adjust. The manager needs to be PCA, plan. You need to plan things out for the procedure. You need to check the procedure, check the people, and then you need to keep making adjustment so that you leave the people supposed to be working on the doing part only. So they're not doing and thinking, because the moment that you're doing this, you create so many different procedures in everybody's mind. So the one really good way to symbolize the entire thing is, just focus on you do PCA. Manager doesn't mean that you just advise. If the person is not doing it or not up to the standard, you have to really step in and do the work as well. And once you do the work, you find another person or you fix the process and you go back to that PCA role. So this is really important for a lot of business out there, especially smaller business. You gotta have the organization chart from the very beginning, right? You need to be very aware of who's doing what, the role and responsibility. That way you can determine whether or not it's a process issue or people issue.
Anything that is going very well since you took over?
Everything that's been going really well. Honestly, I think the team is awesome. The team is pulling it together. They're making the adjustment right. I think there's a couple people that fell off, but honestly, it's probably just the culture, or they're graduating from school. So, but yeah, everybody's been adapting pretty well, and they're understanding it that things are changing. I really appreciate this stuff.
What is your top 2 favorite drink?
The Ryokan. I always order the Ryokan. Royal number 9 is also very good.
Can you sell me Royal number 9 if I were to walk in?
You want me to sell Royal number 9? Have you tried it?
I have.
You have?
Actually, no, I have not tried Royal number 9.
What have you tried?
I've tried the tiramisu crunchy.
Nice.
And that's my favorite.
That's your favorite.
Me up all night. I recommend it to all the students that need to study.
If you had a second option, which one would you pick?
I like have Dirioka too.
You want something a little bit more heavier, like creamy type of thing. Got it. Okay, so next time if you go into a store, if you're looking for something, let's say you have really big meal, right? And you want to just have a bit of refreshing type of feeling and taste in your mouth, like after all the food. Royal Number 9 could be a pretty good one because it brings out an aftertaste, for the drink, and it's not as creamy, it's much lighter, and if you just mix it with a little bit of pudding instead of a tapioca.
Let's try and sell me Dirioka because you said that's your favorite drink. I'm coming in, I'm planning to only get one drink for myself, and that's the crunchy tiramisu.
Okay.
You're the cashier, sell me Dirioka.
Yeah, have you tried it? If you haven't, it's really, really good.
Nice.
Definitely, like, I don't want to over explain this, you gotta try it, and if you don't like it, no problem, I'll get you the drink that you like completely for free.
Well, I'm gonna get the crunchy tiramisu.
Okay.
You want me to get Dirioka, and if I don't like it, you'll give it back.
Yeah, try it out so that next time you come in here, maybe with your partner, with your friends, you have a couple things to offer, and more importantly, that you're now going to be rotating to different drinks moving forward. It's gonna be awesome.
What is your goal? So I want to know, because obviously you just took over, so it takes time to PDCA all the new implementations that you'll be doing. Do you have a clear goal that you'd like to achieve, or give me data-wise, percentage-wise?
My goal is very simple. Find the way to bring it back to 250 orders every single day. 250 will literally allow us to increase like 60% of the profitability of the store, and that will be a good start. So we'll probably start with that. Make sure that currently, like with 100, 120, sometimes you're kind of looking at everything, you're just like, okay, it's just a little over break even. Obviously, after paying out everybody, including our own, but additional pay will allow us to get a lot more comfortable with the store and continue to expand. So after that, you have a little bit more resource you can dump into marketing, increase more sales, or maybe we just keep it as passive as possible.
My last question is, when should we check in with you again to see if you've achieved your goal?
30 days. 30 days, you're going to see some significant improvement. Because right now, we took over the store for the past 30 days. We're able to minimize the expense, bring the labor cost not to 25%, but right now it's at 26%. So we've done a great job, reducing 9% the cost for the payroll. Inventory wise, we're having a bit of handle of it. We're still kind of tweaking the process, but we're not wasting anything anymore. The store cleaning is a lot better, the standard is a lot better, and people have the right expectation. So operational wise, in 30 days, we hit all the milestones basically. The next 30 days, we're going to increase the marketing, and that's going to reflect on the sales. So in total, 60 days, we should see a very significant improvement on the marketing side. Another 30 days, we should be able to stabilize this entire store.
Awesome. I'm looking forward to following your journey.
Let's do it. Thanks for having me.
And in the past, it wasn't like the data was never looked at. So we looked at the data.
The leaf is just it was made differently.
What's it? Number 9. What take a leaf?
I have no idea. I just pulled it on my ass. So the way that the leaf was made was very different.
Hi, how are you?
Good. How are you? What do you want to drink?
Okay, can I get a crunchy tiramisu?
Good choice. Okay. Anything else?
No, just one drink from us.
No. By the way, have you tried Dirioka before?
No, I've never tried Dirioka. What's in there?
What's really interesting about Dirioka is that the way that we made the tapioca is very, very different. You make it soft and tender, okay? And then we mix it with brown sugar and a couple other things, and it just brings out the really creamy. It's very heavy cream type of a flavor. Honestly, if you drink it with milk, because we put a lot of milk in there, it's just honestly, it's by far the best. By the way, do you know like the how to get a coupon?
No, I don't.
Okay, if you post the Adi store, let people know about like you're in here, you can literally get 10% off, right? Typically, this is only for one drink. If you get Dirioka, I'm gonna just knock off another 10% for you.
Okay, awesome. Okay, I'll try that.
Okay, awesome. So I'll get you 2 drinks. Yeah, that's it.